All right, welcome everybody. My name is Mark Albarado. I work with the Government Information Division of the Office of the State Auditor, and I'll be doing a presentation on an early look into CTAS. In today's session, we are going to take a look at how to set up the chart of accounts and work with the chart of accounts, and then hopefully we'll get to end of year reporting to the Office of the State Auditor actually using the CTAS program. Setting up the CTAS chart of accounts is key to keeping quality accounting records and defines the depth of accounting detail that the township wants to achieve. The CTAS chart of accounts allows for flexibility. An entity is able to create funds, account numbers, object and program codes to adapt to their accounting needs. The most current chart of accounts is always available on the Office of the State Auditor's website. The link is right below there, and we're actually going to go there and take a look at that right now online because there are some things that I want to show you on the chart of accounts. So I'm just using any search engine. This just happens to be Google. Search the Minnesota Office of the State Auditor. Normally, the OSA link will pop up right away. Our homepage has a picture of the Dome of the Capitol, and if you just scroll down a little bit, you're going to see a bunch of blue boxes, top row, far right, CTAS, Small City and Town Accounting System. Select that box, and then you're going to want to look for the heading CTAS Documents, and then left click on the Chart of Account link. So the first thing we need to look at in the chart of accounts is just there are some terminology here for numbers that you're going to need to know. First off, restricted numbers are heading separators. You cannot make these numbers active. If you try to use them in an entry in the CTAS program, you will receive an error message. Predefined numbers, you can make these numbers active. You can use them in a CTAS account entry, but you cannot change the descriptions. We have locked these down. We want these descriptions to remain constant because they're actually pushing them to a line on our reporting form. Recommended numbers, you can basically do just about anything you want with them. They can be made active, they can be used in an entry, and you can change their descriptions. So we're going to go in a little farther into the chart of accounts now. If you notice, you're going to see the restricted, predefined, and recommended are headings, and they'll be on every page. Notice restricted ones are mostly in the gray, which cannot be used, but they give you a range for numbers that you can use. So for a permanent fund, well, let's go up to special revenue funds. They're more common. You can use a number 201 through 299. You'll notice that we leave a gap because we cannot anticipate every fund account number object code that a entity is going to need. So we leave gaps so you can create your own. Okay, we couldn't list them all. We don't know what they're going to be. So there are gaps in the chart of accounts, so your chart of accounts can grow or adapt to what your township needs. Once we get into the account numbers now, you're going to notice an extra heading on the far right. This is line number on the financial reporting form. When I actually go into CTAS, we're going to create some account numbers and make some active, and we're going to look at this, the reporting form, as a report from the CTAS program. But you will see that which account number, which category, or which heading you put them into is going to drive them to a certain line on our form. So just kind of be aware of that. So now with a brief description of the chart of accounts, let's actually go into the CTAS program, and we'll look at the chart of accounts in the program itself. So once you log into CTAS, you just want to be in the accounting tab in the upper left-hand corner, and then you can just click on the chart of accounts. Easy enough when you activate or inactivate a fund account number or object code or program code, they all work the same way. So if I would have a library fund, all I would have to do, click on the word library, highlights the whole row. I hit the active button. It's been activated, puts checkbox in. Only account coding that is marked as active will show in your dropdown when you go to create a receipt, claim, disbursement. So anything that doesn't have a checkbox there, that account, fund, account, or object code number or program code is not going to show up when you're actually in making your entries. Okay. So let's go to account numbers now. You're going to see the chart of accounts. Again, this almost looks exactly like the one that we looked at on the website, but there is no line item to reference. But just remember that, or restricted, predefined, or recommended as far as a reference heading. Just remember that the gray ones, like the heading separators that give you a range, those are mostly the restricted ones. Okay. So as we're scrolling through, especially if you're a first-time CTAS user where your entity just purchased the program, basically what you want to do is just scroll through here, figure out which account numbers you think you're going to use, and make them active. Again, to make them active, you just click on the description, highlight the row. If you want to make more than one active at a time, click on the description, highlight the row, then hold down on your control key on your keyboard, and then you can click multiple descriptions. Hit your active button, click OK. It'll activate them all at one time. So again, to activate more than one at a time, highlight a row, control on your keyboard, hit the active button, all these would be active. So let's talk about now, maybe you want your chart of accounts to be a little more detailed. I'm going to scroll down because in townships, road work is a pretty key factor of townships. So when you look at our account coding for roads, we're going to be in the 43,100 section. Okay. It says you can use numbers 43,121 through 43,199. When you look at these account codes that CTAS gives you that are just preloaded, they're not very descriptive. Paved or unpaved streets, sidewalk, crosswalk. You might want to add more description. Your board might want to see how much is gravel, how much is ditch mowing, how much is blading. Okay, not a problem. We can simply add a new account number, fund number, or object code. If you look kind of up here toward the upper right, you can see that there's a new account number tab. So all I want to do is I want to see, I can have a range of 43,121 through 43,199. I'm going to look here. My next available number would be 43,127. Okay. I'm just going to check my CTAS chart of accounts to make sure that that number is not used in that from the web page. So 43,127 is not used. I can come back to CTAS, click on new, put in my number 43,127, my description, ditch mowing, select save. It will save successfully. I click OK. I go to my account numbers, scroll down. We should see it there. So there it is now. If when I go to make a claim, or just I'm going to do add a disbursement just so I can see it in the drop down, we should see 43,127 now has been added. Again, only account numbers, fund numbers, object codes, or program codes that are made active will show in your drop down. So when we go back to our chart of accounts, all these other ones that are listed with no check marks in them, they're not going to show up in your drop down when you're making entries until you actually make them active. So let's say you are actually trying to create an account number. You've looked in the chart of accounts. You don't quite know exactly where it goes. You can't figure it out. You've called the office of the state auditor. Nobody happens to be answering the phone, but you really need, to figure out an account number for this entry. And let's say that your township, you have to have a building permit or a burning permit to burn or have a fire. We have what's called generate account from wizard. So there's a little wizard that'll actually ask you questions and guide you to an account number or a fund number. There's a generate wizard, object code, same situation. We're going to say that we need a burning permit and we cannot figure out what account number. I looked at the chart of accounts. I can't figure it out. So if I click on generate account from wizard, first question is this a governmental fund or a proprietary fund? Proprietary funds are geared more towards cities, although some townships have them, but it's where they're actually making revenue, like say a private business. So a city water and sewer, that's actually billing for their revenues, items like that. A burning permit would not be that, so it's going to be a governmental fund. I would select that, hit next. Is this a receipt or a payment? So we're issuing the burning permit, so the township is going to receive money, so it's going to be a receipt for us. Hit next. So is this a property tax? Is it a license or permit? Is it from another governmental entity? Ours happens to be a license and permit. Business or non-business? This will be a non-business permit. Hit next. It says, hey, here are some accounts that you could choose that you're not using yet. Or here's the next available account number, 32201. I could just create my description. Burning permit, select save. It will save successfully. I just created a new account number that I can use in my dropdown now. Burning permit. So now that would be in there. So if you're having a problem or can't get a hold of us and need to figure out where an account number, object code, phone number needs to go, you can use that generate from wizard option in the chart of accounts. So now let's look at how important when reporting to our office, having the correct account number is. So if you remember, we looked at the chart of accounts online and it had that line number on reporting form, right? So we're going to go up to some revenues that generally most townships receive. And if you look, most townships get a gas tax or a road allotment. And then generally they, a lot of them will get the town aid also, okay? So if I use the correct number, my town aid and my gas tax road allotment will go on the correct line of the form. So in CTAS, if we go to generate the cash basis reporting form, so reports, financial reports, cash basis reporting form. And I'm just going to generate it for the year 2022, just so we can take a quick look at it. If I use the correct account numbers, items flow to the proper line. So if you can see line 25 here, transportation, it's an intergovernmental revenue. It's your gas tax road allotment. I received, or the township received $7,000. It went to line 25 because I used the correct account number. Same with the town aid. Town aid went to 28 because I used the correct account number. So by using the correct coding, it's going to make items flow to the correct account number on the reporting form. And then when you run reports, also having them out detailed out a little more, it'll give you a better idea when you're looking at your revenues and expenditures for the entity. So that's a brief touch on the account numbers and how to use the chart of accounts, how to make them active, add one, and a little bit on how to keep it up to date. So using CTAS to report to the Office of the State Auditor. CTAS was designed as an ease of use cash accounting system for smaller entities. When creating the program, an option to use CTAS to report to the Office of the State Auditor was incorporated. Users of the CTAS program follow year-end reporting instructions. These instructions show users what reports to run for year-end, how to properly close a fiscal year in CTAS, and how to submit year-end files to the Office of the State Auditor. Year-end instructions are found at the link below under the other resource heading. I'm going to show you that link here in just a second. So using CTAS to report to the Office of the State Auditor eliminates the requirement of completing forms. Users simply enter their SAFE's username and password, and then the forms are automatically uploaded to CTAS, and then you receive a confirmation number. As a reminder, townships reporting on the cash basis of accounting, those are due March 31st of this year for the year 2021. And those that use a GAAP basis of accounting, those are due June 30th of 2022, but the fiscal year reporting is 2021. So let's go back to the web page and we'll find the instructions. I'll just back all the way up again. Simple Google search, Minnesota Office of the State Auditor would bring you to the home page. I would select the CTAS Small City and Town Accounting System. I'm going to scroll down and look for the Other Resources heading. And then the second link under there is instructions for year-end reporting. Same as with the CTAS chart of accounts, these instructions will always be the most up-to-date instructions for the reports that we are actually accepting for the current year. So as you can see right away in the instructions on top, it says for the year ended December 31st, 2021. So those are the reports that we are currently accepting. It will also tell you which versions of CTAS will be allowed that are being accepted. So if you would still be on version, let's say CTAS 2019, you would have to update to 2020 in order to be able to submit using the CTAS program. So you always want to kind of take a look at your reporting instructions so you know what versions we're accepting before you try to report. These instructions are also, we send out an email when we start accepting reports, and there's also a link in the email that will direct you to these instructions on our website. So as we scroll through the instructions, it kind of gives you just some hints on what to go through when you're reporting. Make sure you have the right Office of the State Auditor code in your CTAS program. If you didn't have an issue submitting previous years, you probably won't have to worry about that one too much, as once the code is saved, it shouldn't change. Run your financial reports. So this is at the end of the year after December 31st. You probably get your sometime in early January, your bank statement. You want to reconcile to your checkbook statement. Make sure everything is in balance. Once you have that, you're going to run these reports here. So both ledger, receipts, and disbursements. If you have any issues, you're going to want to make your corrections and then rerun your report. And then run the financial statement report, which combines all the schedules 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8 into one report that you will keep on record with the township. You're going to want to review the cash basis reporting form. That was that report in CTAS that we looked at where the town aid went on the right line, the gas tax, road allotment, property taxes. You're just going to want to take a peek at that report, make sure it looks correct, numbers on the proper lines before you submit, because that's one report that we do review. And then if we have any questions, we might send you back an email or give you a phone call to help us figure out if there are any issues with any of the figures on the report. Once you have all your reports ran and you're actually ready to close your year, it's a simple process. Go into the admin tab, go to the year-end processing, proceed with year-end, and we run it. Okay. We'll actually, I'll just go to CTAS and I'll show you that now so you can see how simple the process is. I am first going to change my year back just so I can run the year end. So I have ran all my reports for the year. Everything is balanced. I'm ready to close my year in CTAS. I would go to the admin section, admin icon. I would go to the year-end processing tab. Last year was 2021, so I want to close that and go to my new fiscal year of 2022. I would simply click on the proceed with year-end processing. Run year-end, yes, I will. Year-end has been successfully completed. I click OK. So what CTAS did is it just took all your 2021 entries, contabulated them, closed the 2021 year, took your ending balances from 2021, pulled them over and made them your beginning balances for 2022. Okay, that's a big step. We have quite a few entities that will come in and just change this year here. Let's say this was 2021. They'll just change it to 2022 and then hit save. What happens is when it doesn't carry the correct beginning balances forward. So then all of a sudden they have big issues when they're starting to balance to their January 1st, 2022 bank statements. Balances are not correct at all and sometimes way off. So they're wondering what's going on. And then a lot of it is just not properly closing the CTAS program. So you always want to make sure when you close a year, you're using the proceed with year-end processing. Some entities say, hey, what happens if all of a sudden I find an error after we close the year? Okay, not a problem. We can simply come back, change our year back to 2021, go into our CTAS program, make our edits wherever the error was, save it, come back to the admin section again, and then we'll just rerun our year end again. But you definitely don't just want to go back, make your changes, and then come here and change this to 2022. You want to make sure, make your edits, come back to the year end processing, proceed with year end, and then let CTAS close the year properly, shut it down, carry your balances forward, correct for the next year for 2022. Now that the year end processes ran, you can submit as soon as you get an email from our office that says we are accepting, financial reporting forms for the year 2021. First thing you want to do is make sure you're submitting the right year form. If your computer, the township computer, is connected to the internet, you will go to the generate and submit heading. You will left click on state auditor data file. And I don't have an employee added into my test data. But what normally happens here is as soon as you do that, a box will pop up and it'll ask for your safe's username and password. Let me see if I have one in my test version. So when you click on underneath the generate and submit state auditor data file, the state auditor's form entry system box will pop up. You simply put in your username and password, same one you use for safes, hit submit. It'll go to our office, send you back a confirmation number, and then you have submitted for the year. Same option for your financial statements. As long as you're under the generate and submit and connected to the internet, CTAS should automatically compile your statement and then give you a pop-up box that asks for the state auditor form entry system username and password. This report's just a little bit bigger because there are a few schedules in it. Again, it would be username, password, hit submit, come to our office, you'd get a signal back with a confirmation number. If you do not have CTAS connected to the internet, what you would do then is, just so you do not have to complete the Excel spreadsheet, you would do a generate only. So what this does is it actually just creates a file that goes on your desktop or wherever you want to save it to. Okay. Then once this file is saved, you would then log into the state auditor's form entry system on our website and then just upload that file. But you still would not have to complete a form. It would just be a matter of uploading the file. Same with the financial statements. If I would click on this, it's going to ask me where I want to save it. And then I would just upload the file from whatever folder I saved it into to the state auditor's form entry system. And if we go back to the web page, you can see in the instructions, it'll give you options on how you can submit. So option one, submit directly from CTAS where you're connected to the internet. It'll walk you through the steps that we just did. Option two, generate from file. And then option one and two for the financial statements also. So just to remember, if you have any questions on reporting or any CTAS questions, feel free to contact our office. With any accounting needs or account code needs or submitting to the Office of the State Auditor, feel free to use the CTAS help email or the CTAS helpline. We are more than happy to help you with any concerns that you have. This is all I have for this presentation. I don't know if we have time for a few questions or if we had any questions.
There's one in the Q&A from Bonnie who asks, is there a way to print out just the numbers that we use on the chart of account?
Yes, there is. So just the numbers that you use on the chart of accounts. In CTAS, if you'd go to the top on the report section and then find the chart of accounts. So when we run an account number report, it should be only the numbers that I have marked as active. You would have, there's not a combined report that would show all the fund account numbers, object codes. You'd have to run them each individually, but each one can be ran there.
Another question.
Sure, I'm trying to pull the questions. Oh, who submits the
Yep.
CTAS forms, clerk or treasurer? Either one can submit. That's not an issue. We just need one submission per entity, but either one can submit. So that'll be between you and the clerk is kind of how that goes. But either can submit, but we only need one submission, not two.
In the chat, Diane wrote, Mark, could you please advise the supervisors why this program is so important to townships? You gave an overview, but the supervisors might need to know the why. Thank you.
You know, it's not a required program, but I think for the cost of the program, it's initially $300. We have not charged anything for any updates, and it keeps everybody with kind of the same amount of data, and it cuts down on a lot of work compared to filing certain claims, you know, by hand all the time. It puts everything in the state format. So like any reports, like the Schedule Ones, certain reports, claims list for approval come with supervisor signatures where they can sign to approve. And then reporting to our office, it eliminates the time filling out any forms whatsoever, because basically you're just submitting using the CTAS program. Kim Bishop, how do we know if we are on cash basis or GAAP? You would just contact our office. If you're already using the CTAS program, you're actually submitting using cash because CTAS is a cash accounting program. If you have questions, most GAAP townships are the ones that are over, there's a statute where if you're over 2,500 in population and make certain amount of revenues in a fiscal year, they are required to report GAAP. And then what they'll do is they'll probably, a lot of times, they'll just use a GAAP accounting system. But if you do not know if you're cash or GAAP, just contact the Office of the State Auditor and we'll let you know. Yes, if you do not report using CTAS, there is a manual form. So what you will need to do is you would log into the state auditor's form entry system. With your username and password. If you don't know your username and password, contact our office. Once you are logged in there, there's actually an Excel file that you will download and then manually complete that Excel file. All right, I think I got all the questions.
Thank you so much.
Okay, there's one more I could probably quick answer, and it's the one about the township computer.
Yep.
We recommend that the township have their own computer, that you're not putting it on your personal computer. Just in case something would happen where you would need to be audited or something like that would happen. Um, they could take your computer and then, you have personal files on there. So I would recommend that the township have their own computers for that program. All right, does that about wrap it up, Kristen?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank everybody for attending. I appreciate it and have a good day.